The sky above the arena was blood-red, lit by the twin suns of Valkyra Prime. Thousands of alien spectators filled the stone stands, cheering, shouting, roaring Jace. Carter stood alone on the sand, sweat running down his back, his breathing calm. But Heavy He was the only human hero. Across from him stood Corvarna, undefeated alien champion. 8 feet tall, skin like obsidian armor, tusks curling from his mouth, and a long energy blade buzzing in his hand. The crowd chanted his name like thunder. Jace didn't even have a sword. Just his fists, some armor, and a strange calm inside. His chest, the bell rang once. A silence fell over the arena so thick it was hard to breathe. The Corvern charged like a beast. His footsteps cracked the stone. His blade came swinging down in a blur of blue light. Jace rolled under it, spun behind him, and landed 3 hard punches to the alien's ribs. The crowd gasped. Corvarn roared and swung again. This time Jace grabbed the alien's arm, locked it, and used the champion's weight against him. With a brutal throw, Corvern hit the ground hard. Dust rising around them. Nobody had ever knocked the champion down. Not even on Sekervarn tried to rise. His blade flickered, but Jace was already there. One final strike to the neck, then silence. The alien giant fell flat on his back. Unmoving, the arena went completely quiet. Jace stood over the body, breathing hard. His hands trembled slightly. But he remained standing. An elder, cloaked in deep purple robes, floated into the arena on a levitating disc. His voice echoed through every speaker. "Every ear the human has one," he said. "By ancient law, he is now the victor over Clan Kor. He takes the strength, the lands, and the wives." Jace blinked. "What?" he said aloud, but no one answered. The crowd remained silent, watching with eyes wide and mouth shut. 3 alien women were escorted forward. Each wore a long, flowing robe and veil, heads down, faces hidden. Their skin was smooth, shades of deep gold and pale violet. Just stepped back, confused. "Wait, I didn't come here for this. I just wanted to stop him from attacking Earth's convoys." Another elder stepped forward, older and colder. "You have challenged the champion. You have won. You are bound by our traditions now. The champion's bonded mates are now yours. This is our law." Jace looked at the 3 women. One of them didn't lift her head. Another's fists were clenched. The third trembled like a leaf in the wind. "I don't want to own anyone," Jace said. "Let them go. I don't need you." "Can I refuse the right?" the elder interrupted sharply. "To do so would insult the entire Kor lineage. It would be seen as a declaration of war." He looked up at the thousands of silent faces staring at him. Judging waiting, Jace swallowed hard. The elder raised one long, wrinkled hand. "Take them to his chambers." The guards bowed, and the women were led away. One stumbling slightly Jews followed slowly, his heart pounding, his mind racing. This wasn't supposed to happen. He whispered back in the warriors' quarters, far more luxurious than any place he'd ever stayed. The door sealed shut behind him with a heavy thud. The 3 wives stood by the entrance. Their veils were removed. One by one, the first had strong, proud eyes and held her chin high. "I am Vela," she said coldly, "and I will never accept a human master." The second, with sharp eyes and long white hair, said softly, "I am Sarian. I will observe. I will decide if you are truly a male worth bonding." The third youngest stepped back as she whispered, "Lorani. My name is Lorani." She looked like she wanted to vanish. Jace raised his hands. "Look, I don't want this. I didn't know about your law. I don't even want wives. I'm just a soldier." Vela narrowed her eyes, then prepared to suffer. "Human. Because this world does not let go of tradition." Sirian tilted her head. "You may survive the blade, but can you survive what comes after?" Lorani said nothing, just stared at the floor. Jace sank down on a bench and rubbed his face with both hands. What had he gotten himself into? Outside, the people of Velkara began to talk. Rumors spread. Some cheered the human strength. Others called it an insult, but the law was clear. The duel had been waned. The wives now belonged to him whether he liked it or not. The silence inside the warriors' quarters was thick. Jace could hear only the soft breathing of the 3 alien women standing near the wall. None of them moved. No one spoke. The room was big, with crystal walls, gold edges, and glowing vines running across the ceiling like stars trapped in branches. But Jace felt like a prisoner. He turned to face them, his voice careful. "I didn't choose this," he said. "I don't want to force anyone to stay here. Not like this." Vela took one step forward, her gold eyes sharp and blazing. "Then free us," she said. "Break their law, insult their honor, and watch what happens." He paused, remembering what the elder said earlier. If he broke the bond or rejected the wives, it would mean war. Between humans and Clan Core, a powerful house with thousands of warships and influence across 5 system Sarians, sat down on the edge of the cushioned platform near the firelight. Her silver hair glowing. "You should understand, Jace Carter. You now carry not just a title, but a burden. These bonds were once given to powerful warriors as a gift. Now they are chains for all of us." Lorani kept her distance, hugging her arms close. Eyes wide and silent, she looked young, maybe too young for this ritual. Her eyes met his for only a second before darting away again. He sighed and walked toward the side table where alien food had been left. Bright purple fruits, sizzling meat strips, and glowing blue drinks. He touched. "None of it you should eat." Sarian said, "You'll need strength soon." "For what?" he asked, but she didn't answer that night. Jace sat in silence, watching the fire. All 3 women slept on separate cushioned benches far from him, their breathing soft, their backs turned. He didn't try to speak, didn't even move. The stars outside the window shifted as the twin moons rose higher, casting pale light across the polished floors at sunrise. A gong echoed from the upper towers. The door opened with a hiss, and 3 royal guards entered. Tall and armored in black and red, one of them stepped forward, his voice like gravelet. "Is the first ritual night," he said. "By law, the wives begin the ceremonial bond. You must choose who joins you first." Jace stood up quickly. "I'm not doing that." The guard didn't blink. Refusal is dishonor. Dishonor leads to punishment by fire. Before Jace could respond, Vela stepped forward. "I will go first," she said. But her tone was not soft, not willing. Her eyes stared straight at Jace, not with interest, but with a challenge. The guards nodded and left, sealing the door. Behind them, Vela walked past Jace and into the adjoining chamber. Leaving a trail of golden perfume behind her, Jace stood still, frozen between duty, fear, and a strange twist in his chest he couldn't explain. Inside the chamber, candles were already burning, the air heavy with alien spices. Vela turned, removing the thin chain from her forehead. Her voice was low, almost mocking. "Let's get this over with, human. Prove you're worthy of the title you stole." Jace walked in slowly. "I didn't steal anything. I fought because your champion was planning to attack Earth's supply lines." Vela stepped closer. "And now you've claimed more than you wanted, haven't you?" He looked her in the eyes, saw something behind the fire pain. She didn't want this either, but pride was all she had left. Suddenly, she reached toward a bowl on the side table. Her fingers dipped into the oil beside the flame. Jace caught the scent. It was wrong, too bitter, too metallic. She moved fast, flicking the oil toward his face. Jace ducked and grabbed her wrist, twisting it just enough to make her drop the small flask. It shattered on the floor with a hiss, smoke rising from where it landed. "Poison?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer, only glared. "Better than being your prize." "I'm not here to own you," Jace whispered, his grip still firm, but not cruel. I just want to survive this without starting a war." Vela pulled away and sat down on the edge of the bed, her eyes now distant. "Then good luck, human. Because the war has already started, you just don't know it yet." In the next room, Sarian had heard everything. She opened a small, glowing device, typed in something quickly, and closed it before anyone could see. Lorani sat quietly in the corner. Her eyes filled with worry. She whispered something into her sleeve, a language Jace didn't understand outside the palace. In the dark alleys of the lower levels, strange figures moved in the shadows. Their orders were clear: the human must not survive the bonding ceremony. The second night came without warning. The sons of Velkara had barely dipped below the jagged mountains when a knock echoed against Jace's doorknob with hands. But with a coded pulse only the palace used, it was a signal that meant one thing. The next wife was being sent, and Sarian entered alone, her silver hair braided down her back, wearing a royal robe that shimmered like ice. Her face was calm, unreadable. She closed the door behind her and didn't speak for a long time. Jace stood near the fireplace, arms crossed, his body tense from the incident with Vela the night before. He didn't sleep after that. Every movement, every creak in the walls had kept him on edge. Sarian slowly walked to the center of the room, her eyes scanning every corner. "Before locking onto his, you handled Vela better than I expected," she said quietly. "She tried to poison me," Jace replied. "That's not exactly romance where I come from." "She was testing your strength," Sarian said, "not your affection. In our world, affection comes last." She sat down on one of the velvet cushions, folding her legs beneath her like flowing silk. Jace didn't move. He watched her hands. They were too still, too perfect, like they were trained to do nothing without purpose. "You're not like the others," he said. Her eyes lifted slowly. "I was born in a royal training house. I was raised to serve as an advisor, a mate, and a protector all at once. That sounds more like a weapon than a wife." Her lips twitched at the edge. "Almost a smile, perhaps. But unlike Vela, I don't waste time hating you. I prefer understanding what you are." Jace finally stepped forward. "Then ask me something real." Sarian tilted her head. "What would you do if all of this was fake? If tomorrow they told you the bond was void, the law broken, and you were free to go?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the window and stared out at the twin moons hanging in the sky like silent watchers. The air beyond was quiet, but something about it felt wrong. "I'd leave," Jace said finally. "I never asked for this, but I wouldn't forget you three." Sarian nodded once. "That's a human answer." She stood, walked past him, and stopped near the fireplace. Her fingers hovered over the controls hidden in the stone. "Do you want to know a secret?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Sure," he said. Cautious, she tapped 3 runes in a row, and part of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden passage behind it. Stone steps led down into darkness, lit only by a faint red glow. "There's a rebellion brewing," she said, "not against you, but around you. They don't care that you won the duel. They care that you're human." Jace stepped closer. "And you? Are you part of it?" Sarian looked at him sharply. "I was, once. But not anymore." "Why?" he asked. "Because I saw something strange last night." She said, "Vela could have killed you. She had every right to hate you. But when she failed, you didn't punish her. You didn't hurt her. You let her go." Stayed. Quiet. Sarian stepped into the passage and looked over her shoulder. "There's someone down here you need to meet. Someone who can tell you what's really going on." He hesitated only for a second before following her into the dark. The walls of the tunnel were damp and narrow, made of old stone that hadn't been touched in years. They moved quickly but quietly, Sarian's eyes glowing faintly in the low light. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To someone who used to wear the same robe I do," she said, "but refused the bond." They reached a door made of dark metal. Scarred by claw marks, Sarian tapped a rhythm. The door hissed open inside, an alien woman with one mechanical arm and eyes clouded with old pain turned to face them. She was older, worn, and dangerous. "You brought the human," she said. Sarian nodded. "He needs to know what law he's bound to, and why it was never meant to survive." The woman stepped forward and placed something in Jace's hand. A thin stone plate covered in symbols. "What's this?" He asked. "Your freedom," she said, "but it comes with a price." Back in the palace, Lorani sat alone on her sleeping mat, eyes fixed on the ceiling. She whispered a prayer in her native tongue. Not for herself, but for the human who didn't belong here and outside, far beyond the walls, a warship powered up in the shadows of Velkara's second moon. Waiting for the signals, something was coming, something bigger than a bond asterisk. The ancient plate in Jace's hands felt warm. Not from heat, but from something else, something alive. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. His fingers curled around it. As he stared at the old alien woman across from him, her one glowing mechanical eye studying him with quiet judgment. "This," she said, "is the original bond law, not the version they tell the people. Not the one enforced with honor duels and sacred rituals. The true, one buried, rewritten, erased." Sarian stood at Jace's side, silent now, letting the truth fall like dust from the old woman's mouth. "According to this," the woman continued, "the champions' wives were never meant to be prizes. They were supposed to choose, willingly. But when the wars came, the clans twisted the law into a tool, a weapon to unite bloodlines and build power." Jace felt cold. "So? I didn't win them. I inherited a lie." The woman nodded slowly. "But the people don't know that. They see a human who broke their champion in front of thousands. They see you as a threat, Tor, a key." Jace looked at Sarian. "And you? You knew this?" She lowered her eyes. "I suspected. I was trained to follow the ritual, not question it." Footsteps echoed down the tunnel behind them. 3 quick beats. Then silence. A young rebel soldier stepped into the room, his cloak soaked in black rain. "They know," he said to Sarian. "They know you brought him here. You have minutes." The old woman turned to Jace. "If you leave now, there's still time. You can disappear, hide among the outer colonies. They won't chase you far." But Jace didn't move. He stood straight, the stone plate still in his hand. "No," he said. "I'm done running from laws I didn't write. They forced me into this. I'm going to finish it on my terms." A loud alarm echoed through the tunnel, red lights blinking along the walls. The palace had discovered the secret chamber. Sarian grabbed his arm. "We have to go, now." Back in the upper palace, Lorani sat by the window, sketching something. On a piece of cloth, a ship, a star, and 3 small shapes beside it. She paused as a tremor passed under her feet. Distant sirens began to scream. She rushed out into the hallway. Passing stunned servants and panicking guards, her eyes searched wildly until she found Vela standing near the edge of the spiral staircase, gripping a blade in her hand. "You felt it too." Lorani asked. Vela didn't look at her. "He's in trouble. I know it. You hate him." "I did," Vela said. "But he fights for us, even when we try to break him." Below the palace, Sarian led Jace through a collapsing hallway as sirens blared and walls cracked from plasma charges being set in the outer tunnels. Ahead, 2 royal enforcers stood blocking the exit. Weapons drawn, no passage. One barked. By order of the council, Jace stepped forward, holding up the stone plate. "By real law, this bond is broken." The enforcers hesitated, but their orders were clear. One fired. Sarian pulled Jace down just in time, the blast hitting the wall behind them. The second enforcer aimed, but before he could shoot, a curved blade pierced his neck from behind. Vela stepped into view, her face smeared with dust, eyes blazing. "I said I'd kill him myself," she muttered, but not like this. Lorani appeared beside her, out of breath. Holding a control chip in her hand, I disabled the guards at the north exit, but we have only a few minutes before the palace AI resets. The four of them ran, pushing through burning corridors. Past stunned guards, too confused to react. When they reached the surface, the city was already rumbling with protests. News of the humans' escape had spread, and with it, the truth. The Elder Council Tower shone in the distance like a golden dagger stabbing the sky. Jace looked up at it, his fists clenched. That's where it ends, he said. Vela smirked. Then let's end it with a bang, human. The old bond was breaking, not just between names or families, but between truth and tradition. And in the firelight of rebellion, a human stood with three alien women, no longer enemies, not trophies, but allies. Smoke curled through the night air above Velkara's palace walls. The golden towers shimmered under flashing lights as riots broke out in the lower districts. Crowds of aliens shouted from balconies and streets, their voices clash, some praising the human as a symbol of strength, others calling for his execution inside a stolen transport glider. Jace sat between Vela and Sarian. Lorani piloted the craft with shaking hands, barely keeping them stable as they zigzagged through the city's defense grid. No one spoke. The city's rage was louder than words. We can't fly like this for long, Lorani said, her voice thin. The Palace Air Patrol will find us within 10 minutes. Jace leaned forward. Then take us to the old trial ring. It's open, public, and surrounded by news drones. If they attack us there, the whole galaxy will see it live. Vela turned to him. You want to start a war by standing in the middle of it? No, Jace said. I want to show them I'm not afraid anymore. Sirian stared out the window, her mind calculating. If we do this, there's no turning back. You'll be exposed, the bond law will collapse, the clans will fall into chaos. Then let it, he said. If their peace is built on slavery, it doesn't deserve to survive. The trial ring was an ancient coliseum carved into the mountains. Thousands once watched champions fight for blood and honor here. Now it stood empty, except for news drones hovering silently. Watching from every angle, the glider landed on the cracked center stone, dust flying into the cold night air. Jace stepped out first, followed by the three women. The moment they appeared, the drones shifted, focusing, scanning, broadcasting across systems within minutes. City lights flickered, then changed to red. Alarms echoed through the high towers. The Elder Council had seen them, and they were not going to stay silent, and pulled out a small device and activated a hologram above the trial ring. It showed the original bond Lotha one Jace had been given by the exile. Symbols floated in the air, glowing and rotating. The law was clear. The right of choosing lies with the bonded, not the victor. That single line was enough to silence an empire. Jace stepped forward and spoke to the cameras. His voice, strong, calm, and cutting through the chaos like a blade. I was forced into this bond by a law that was twisted. The truth was hidden, but not anymore. I do not claim these women. They are not mine. He looked at Vela, at Sarian, at Lorani, but I will fight beside them. Suddenly, sharp engines roared above. Elite palace airships hovered above the ring. Their lights painted the ground in red, blue, and white. Tate deep voice echoed from their speakers. Jace Carter, you are ordered to surrender. The women with you are considered traitors. Lay down your weapons. He had no weapons. Vela stepped forward, her voice fierce. Then come take us, cowards. A hatch opened on one of the ships. Energy rifles aimed down before they could fire. The trial ring's outer stones erupted in light. Dozens of masked figures appeared. The rebellion. Once silent, now fully armed. Sarian turned to Jace. You wanted a voice. You got a firestorm. The battlefield formed fast. Rebels clashed with palace enforcers across the ancient stones. Plasma and steel echoed into the night. Jace moved fast. Pulling Lorani behind cover, he grabbed a fallen blaster and fired into the air. Not to kill but to signal the drones he was still Olivavula, fought like a storm, blades spinning. Every move she made was poetry, and Ragasarian hacked the lead airship's controls from a stolen wrist unit, causing it to spin out of formation and crash into the cliffs. With Aurora, Lorani found herself shielding a rebel child, who had wandered into the open. Her body covered his, her eyes wide with fear, but she didn't move, not even when blaster fire zipped past in the middle of it all. Jace stood tall. A human caught in an alien war, bound not by love, not by law, but by choice. When the battle settled, fires burned across the ring, but the drones were still watching. Still recording. The people saw everything: the human who didn't take power when he could, the women who chose to fight beside him, and the empire that tried to silence them. The trial ring still smoked under the twin moons. But across the galaxy, millions were already watching. Broadcasts from the drones were being replayed on every major channel. Some called it rebellion, some called it revolution. But most called it something else. Struth inside the ruins of the old Colosseum. Jace stood atop a broken pillar, bruised and bleeding. His left arm burned from a glancing energy shot. But he didn't stop. Around him, the rebels tended to their wounded. The three alien women, Vela, Sarian, and Laran, stood like sentinels beside him. Not as captives, but equals far above them. The council chamber tower lit up like a spear of fire. Their message had been received. And now came the answer. A message arrived, encoded. Direct: come to the Hall of Flame at dawn. Alone, if you want. Peace. Jace read the message aloud, then crushed the device in his palm. It's a trap, he said. Vela shook her head. It's worse than that. It's a show. They want to end this in public. With your execution, Sarian stepped forward. Then we flip the script. They want peace to mean silence. We make it mean change. Lorani looked up at Jace, her voice soft. Will you go? He nodded slowly. I have to. If I run now, everything we did was for nothing. That night, no one slept. Jace sat at the edge of the broken arena, looking out across the sleeping city. It was quiet now. Too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. Vela joined him, sitting down without a word for a long time. Neither spoke. Then she said, You know, the first time I saw you, I wanted you dead. I remember, Jace said, smiling slightly. I still don't like humans, she muttered. But you made me question my own chains. He looked at her, really looked at her, not as a prize, not as a warrior, but as someone caught in a system just like him. I didn't come here to be a symbol, he whispered. I just didn't want to die in silence. Vela stood up, her gold eyes gleaming. Then don't. Go tomorrow, but don't go alone. At sunrise, the Hall of Flame opened its massive doors. The council sat on golden thrones shaped like wings, cloaked in layers of living light. Each elder wore the crest of their bloodline, and none of them smiled. Jace entered through the main gate. But he was not alone. Behind him walked the three women, Vela in royal battle robes, Sarian in her official diplomatic gown, Lorani in a simple traveler's cloak stitched with her family symbol. The crowd gasped. The council speaker stood, his voice sharp. You were told to come alone. Jace answered clearly. I didn't bind them. They chose this path. The elder's eyes narrowed. You are charged with war crimes, with rebellion, and with desecrating sacred rites. Jace raised a hand, and from his wrist, a small sphere lifted into the air. It projected the true bond, Lotha, original one. The crowd behind the walls murmured as they read the words again, the right of choosing lies with the bonded. Sarian stepped forward. That law is not rebellion. It is your past. Vela drew her blade and drove it into the floor. This tradition was built on lies, and I will no longer defend it. Lorani took Jace's hand, her voice trembling but strong. I choose him, not because I must, but because I believe in what he stands for. The council chamber trembled with noise. The elders rose, half in outrage. Half in disbelief, the speaker raised both hands. Then let the flames judge, as our ancestors did. A circle of blue fire ignited around them. Ancient tradition meant to burn away falsehood. If the flames rejected them, they would die. Instant liges looked at the women. They nodded, together, and stepped into the fire with him. The flames roared high, licking at their feet, surrounding the man. Then the fire turned green, a sign of ancient truth, of chosen unity. The crowd outside screamed with joy, shock, and fury, all at once. The elders sat frozen, their power unraveling. Just stood in the center of the flames, untouched. The three women by his side was no longer about war or law or bloodlines. It was about choice, and the galaxy had just witnessed the first true bond in 1,000 years. Green fire danced around their feet, but none of them burned. Jay stood in the center of the ancient flame, hands steady, eyes locked on the council. The three women flanked him like living pillars. Vela, proud and tall, Syrian, wise and unreadable, and Lorani, silent but brave. The Hall of Flame had spoken. They had been judged and accepted. The council chambers were dead quiet. No one moved, no elder spoke. Something ancient had returned to life, something even they could not deny. Then one of the elders rose, an old male with glowing scars down his face, his voice barely above a whisper. Never in our history has a flame turned green for an outsider. Jace stepped forward, the green light still flickering in his shadow. I didn't come to destroy your laws, he said. I came because I was pulled into a system I didn't understand, but now that I do, I won't walk away from it. Another elder slammed her staff to the ground. You threaten order, I threaten lies, Jace said, without blinking. This trial didn't break your laws. It exposed your fear of letting people choose. Vela stepped beside him. If you strike him down now, you'll burn your own legacy with him, Sarian added. The people have seen everything. The drones are still broadcasting. Kill him now, and they'll rise. Lorani held out the stone plate, now glowing faintly, the ancient symbols shifting like wind and water. This law is older than all of you, and we are its living proof. Outside the chamber walls, the city erupted not with violence, but with cheers. From balconies and rooftops, alien citizens began lighting green flames of their own, a symbol of choice, of change, one by one. Towers across the capital flickered with emerald light inside the hall. The council had no choice. The lead elder finally spoke, voice bitter and cracked. Then let it be written, he said slowly. By the judgment of the old flame, Jace Carter shall not be executed. He paused. He shall be named first consort of the unified house. Gasps rang through the chamber. Wait, what? Nace Muterid Vela smirked. It means you just got promoted. Human, you're now officially royalty, Sarian said with a tiny smile. Lorani squeezed his hand. And legally bonded to all three of us. Jace rubbed his forehead. This was not in the plan. The green flame vanished, leaving only silence and ash in the circle. But something had changed, not just in the room, but in the galaxy itself. The law was reborn. The lie had died that night. No one slept in Velcra. Crowds gathered in the streets, not to riot, but to celebrate. In every district, citizens lit green fires. Each one a silent promise that the future would not be like the past back at the palace. Jay stood alone on the balcony, looking out at the glowing city for the first time since the duel. He felt the weight lift from his chest. Vela joined him, arms crossed. Still think you're just a soldier? Jace chuckled. I miss when my biggest problem was finding clean socks. Sarian walked over with 2 glasses of amber drink. handing one to Jace. "You changed something permanent today. You realize that, don't you?" "I didn't do it alone," he said. Taking the drink, Lorani appeared last, barefoot, her long cloak dragging behind her. She slipped between them and leaned into Jace's side. "We didn't choose this life either, but we chose you, the..." 4 of them stood in silence, watching the twin moons rise slowly above the green glowing city. The stars blinked gently in the sky for the first time in generations. The galaxy felt different, not because of a war, not because of a king, but because one human stood in the center of an ancient world and said, "No," and somehow the universe listened.